I'd like to introduce our next topic, leadership, with questionnaire number 7. Are you a leader? Now, obviously, the world needs more followers than leaders, so your score would have to be significantly higher than the mean to indicate that you have the tendency to lead. The U.S. student mean on the leader identity scale is 41.1. Now, just how high would your score need to be? Well, that would be related to the size of the group and the scores of the other group members, right? It's easier to be a big fish in a small sea, right? So a higher score would likely be required for the president of your graduating class than the leader of a small club within it. From a state leader than a community leader, from a national leader than a state leader, and so on. We're going to begin exploring leadership by looking at leadership styles. What is the best leadership style? In 1939, Lewin formed children into groups to work on hobbies and tested 3 different leadership styles. Autocratic leaders made unilateral decisions and supervised without working themselves. Democratic leaders encouraged the groups to make their own decisions through votes, though they were there to break a tie and make suggestions, and involve themselves in the work along with the group members. Laissez-faire leaders offered little or no guidance, leaving the group pretty much on their own. There were a number of interesting findings. First, democratically led groups showed the most creativity and the best morale most of the time. Second, autocratically led groups were the most productive, but showed low creativity and low morale, and much lower productivity in the absence of their boss. But interestingly, these groups work best when fast decisions are needed or when groups feel under threat. Third, groups led by laissez-faire leaders were the least productive, the least creative, and they showed the lowest morale of all. Though interestingly, research with adults, not children, found that groups led by laissez-faire leaders sometimes work best when it involves a group of professional experts. And so it is not surprising that further research identified the best leaders as those who are flexible, who adjust their styles with the situation, those who are democratic most of the time, but autocratic when a fast decision is needed or if they sense the group is in high threat, and tend to test laissez-faire along with democratic styles when leading experts. So what makes a toxic leader? The Peter Principle in sociology goes a long way in explaining how some not so great leaders got their job. The Peter Principle states that people tend to get promoted to their highest level of incompetence. So let's think about that. They prove competent at a position and are awarded with a promotion, and this keeps happening until they reach a position at which they do not excel. Meaning no one knows until it's too late, right? While they won't usually be promoted any higher, it's too hard to demote someone. So oftentimes they end up in a position in which they do not do well for the remainder of their careers. Another characteristic of a poor leader is to fail to hire people with the best skills for the job. Granted, this is harder than you might think because everyone tries to come across as having all qualities needed in the job interview. So besides good research skills like checking backgrounds, training, references, a good leader must have exceptional people perception skills in order to see through the act to who is genuine and who is not. Poor leaders also tend to have poor interpersonal skills. They fail to respect and appreciate employees out of arrogance and/or indifference. And they often tend to be duplicitous characters. They display behaviors that undermine employees' trust in them, like betraying others' trust, failing to keep promises, taking advantage of subordinates, etc.